Okay, great. So now I can just grab this copy streaming link and I'll have it live on our website right now. Okay, it's live. Great. Thanks, Jen. Okay, great. So now I can just grab this streaming link and I'll have it live on our website right now.
Let me turn off the YouTube.
Yeah. Hey, it's live. All right. If you want to transfer it back, I can manage the rest of the attendance and stuff. Or just make me a co-host. I think I could do that from the co-host too. Great. I'm going to go on to mute now.
Okay. Hold on, I'll be right back. Mila, I need my phone.
Do you guys recognize the 914 number, or is that their team? It's probably their team.
I think it's Potach, the 914.
Are you sure about that? Oh, there he is. Yeah, I got it.
I'm not sure about it.
Oh.
We have 6 folks in the waiting room now, so we'll let them in once the meeting starts.
Oh.
Wonderful. We've got some bodies here.
Hey, Lisa, sorry, I was trying to dial in and didn't realize I wasn't on Zoom.
No, I know times are rough trying to get these things accomplished in regular time. We have a quorum, so let's call the meeting to order. I have the baby here with me, so I will occasionally mute if he decides that he doesn't want to share my attention. First order of business is approval of the August minutes. August, was it that long ago? Jeez.
I'm sorry. It's
was the
probably the September. I didn't update it. It's the September
Okay.
minutes. Typo.
You want to watch? There you go. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, folks. Still getting myself together here, but I'm here.
Hi, Kevin.
Hey.
We'll take you any way we can get you, Kevin.
Well, that's nice to know.
All righty. Anybody have any questions or comments or corrections on the September minutes?
I do not.
I hear none. I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes.
David, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it, Lisa. It's Joe.
Thank you. All in favor, indicate by saying aye rather than try to count hands.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All righty, minutes are accepted as presented. Moving right along. House to home, the Johnston Street properties.
So I can give an update. We released a bid for the renovation of those two properties to be done together. And the RFP is due on November 10th.
Okay. Have we had any responses yet?
We've had 3 or 4, I think 4 contractors request bid documents and indicate their interest.
Okay, that's good.
Yep, and we have a permit for 43 Johnston, but we will have to change the contractor based on how the bid comes out, and then we have approvals from ARC for both projects.
Excellent. Okay, how about the Lander Street properties?
So we have for 150 Lander and 115 Lander, we're hoping to do a similar thing, release an RFP for both of them together. We have completed drawings for 150 Lander, and we will be hopefully presenting at the next ARC meeting. And, you know, that's again, all of these 4 buildings that we're talking about now are part of our house to home program that will be owner occupied with a rental unit. And so 115 Lander, we haven't started the plans yet, but that will be happening shortly. We're in the middle of a clean out of all of those buildings in preparation for the bidding. Yeah, so that's basically where we are with all of those.
And how about the church properties?
So we are working on the subdivision. We just got a draft plot from the surveyor, and to basically take out 3 developable lots on Lander Street from the 37 Chambers property that will remain with the church. And so that the surveyor is going to be presenting that to the city for approval.
Okay.
And simultaneously, the church has to go through a process with the AG, the Attorney General's office, to approve them selling an asset.
Okay, okay. Are the people from BJH here in the waiting room?
Yes, and
Okay.
we can let them in.
You want to have any, why don't we hear from them and then we can have some discussion in executive session. Hi, everybody. We got a bunch, huh? If you wouldn't mind, I'll go down the list here, and if you would just identify yourself and tell us your connection. Anna, would you go first?
Sure. I'm Anna Dietsch. I'm an architect. I'm with the developers team and the design team.
Michael?
Michael Miola, BJH, the developer.
Kaja?
Hi, I'm Kaya Kuhl. I'm with Design for 6 Feet, the design team.
And Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Kay Hayashi. I'm with the development team. And I think you have Cam too.
Liz?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. Hi, I'm Liz McEnany. I'm also with Design for 6 Feet, the design team.
And Cameron?
Hi, sorry.
We have you on 2 different devices, Cameron.
Yeah, sorry. I have one to bring the video up and for running the presentation. So I must have had some technical issues right there. But I'm Cameron Boucher. I'm with BJH Advisors and development team as well.
Great. All righty. Would you like to give us just a brief update or what's going on with the project right now?
Yeah, so we have a brief presentation that we're going to bring up, and I'll bring that up now, and I'll turn it over to Michael to start off.
Okay. Hi, sorry. This is Kay Hayashi, and I'm one of the principals of BJH Advisors. We're the developer. Can everybody see the project presentation?
Yes.
Okay, good. First, I'd like to thank Lisa and Jen Wells and Diana for giving us this opportunity, and also thank the board for your time. We have a brief presentation where we're just going to introduce our team, the project goals, a little bit about the design and the development, our connection to the community, the financing plan, and then we have just a little bit of time for Q&A. So Michael?
Thanks. Cam, you can advance it. Thanks. So the proposal is by the principals of BJH Advisors and also Anna Dietsch. BJH is a small New York City-based consulting and development firm led by myself and Kay. Cam, as you have already mentioned, has already been mentioned, is our project manager for this project. And Anna will talk about Design for 6 Feet momentarily, and also we're working with Baxter Construction on this project. BJH is a national consulting firm. Our consulting practice is national in scope, and our development practice is mainly in New York City. We work at different scales, some fairly large projects, and then also some really fairly small projects. I co-own a 4-unit building at 1423 St. Mark's Avenue in Brownsville. We're also currently working on a 10,000 square foot nonprofit development, 500 Stagg Street in East Williamsburg. And I'll let Anna talk about Design for 6 Feet.
Actually, Liz is going to jump in, and I'll introduce Design for 6 Feet. So Design for 6 Feet is a women-led team of architects, urban designers, and preservationists. For the past several years, we've collaborated on projects in the Hudson Valley, including Newburgh, and Kaya will discuss that later in the presentation. But for 143 Washington, we're teaming up with John Powell as architect of record. And John is currently working on the renovation of a multifamily residential property in Newburgh. As Michael suggested and has talked about, our team collectively really has experience in projects that are similar in size and scale and budget to that of 143 Washington. And as you saw in the previous slides, and you can see in this one as well, our portfolio includes both residential and commercial mixed-use development projects, including the renovation of historic buildings in New York City and the Hudson Valley. And we do have experience working on projects that have qualified for and received federal and state historic tax credits.
I'll jump in to talk about a little bit of the background of the project. Here we have one of the renderings of what we envision this development to look like once completed. And our goals here are first and foremost to create a community-oriented asset for Newburgh and restoring an underutilized piece of the city right now. So the plan is to restore the existing row house structure, develop infill on the corner, and it's going to be primarily a residential building. We'll have a little bit of commercial space on the ground floor as well. Here is another rendering from a different angle of the building. It's going to be just over 10,000 square feet once complete. 4 stories. There will be a partial 5th floor that will have 1 unit up there and a little bit of roof access that tenants will put laundry in there as well. It's going to be 15 studios and 2 1-bedrooms. And then all the units will be affordable at 80% AMI or below. And most of the studios will actually be well below the 80% level. The ground floor commercial space, we are going to take actually a bit for BJH to occupy there. And then we also see a nonprofit. We'll get into it a little further on in the presentation, but Osborne Associates, who we're working with, is going to occupy the rest of it. Like I said, the previous tenant access to the roof, and then we'll also have a small back garden area. And then again, BJH will take a portion of the commercial space there.
So this is Anna again, just looking at the plans quickly. As Cam said, we'll have 15 studios. They're going to range in between 390 and roughly 430 square feet each. We'll have 2 1-bedrooms. They're both 600 square feet each. We'll have the common area at the back at the garden level, as Cam mentioned, and that's where we also have the ADA access for our accessible units. We try to enlarge the circulation areas so we can accommodate common spaces like storage for bikes and some sitting areas. That also happens, on the parlor floor, and it also happens on the 3rd and 4th floor, where we have a very large corridor where we could accommodate some sitting areas, study areas. The fifth floor, as Cam said, it's partial. We've located one studio, a small laundry, and some common area there also, and try to tuck the construction as far as possible from the corner, so it's not visible from the street. And I think Kaya, you want to present the community connection?
Both of our teams have relationships in Newburgh already. Design for 6 Feet. We, the three of us, have been teaching urban design at Columbia University, and in that capacity have been working with lots of groups in Newburgh for the last several years. And most recently, we initiated a design competition for outdoor play equipment for kids in Newburgh during the pandemic, and we're working with the Newburgh Free Library, with Safe Harbors on the Hudson, and the Greater Newburgh Parks Conservancy, and to implement and build these. And the third one is with the Newburgh Armory. Liz, myself, and John Powell, our architect of record, are also trustees of Awesome Newburgh, and so in that capacity, we've supported over 15 projects in the last 2 years with micro grants in Newburgh.
Yeah, Kay and I have also been looking for the right project in Newburgh for the last several years. We have also bid on prior projects with the Land Bank and with the City of Newburgh. We're also currently working with restaurateur Sisha Ortuzar, who's also involved with the Wireworks around the corner, and with Robert Lavalva on a food distribution and production facility for Newburgh. We've also decided to team up with the Osborne Association, which currently has an office on Ann Street off of Broadway in Newburgh, on this project. And Cam, you can advance the slide.
Yeah, so Osborne Association, for those unfamiliar, they're a nonprofit that primarily serves individuals and groups affected by the criminal justice system. And they currently have an office for administrative services in Newburgh. But they would take some of the commercial space on the ground floor here and actually would be able to provide services to local populations with that. We've also have a pending application with the Empire State Supportive Housing Initiative to put 5 units into that program. And that would actually work with Newburgh Ministries to primarily focus on individuals that have existing connections, whether they're previously incarcerated residents from Newburgh coming back out, or existing shelter residents. So the focus again would be on helping Newburgh residents. So just a quick overview of our financing plan. Developer equity, we're bringing 15% to the table. And then we're gonna have a large permanent and construction loans via the Community Preservation Corps. We've been working and having discussions with them, underwriting the project, and would hope to advance pretty quickly there towards closing on financing with approval. We're also applying to the Department of Homes and Community Renewal's Small Building Participation Loan Program for grant funding there. As I mentioned before, we've applied to the Empire State Supporting Housing Initiative for 5 supporting housing units. We're going to utilize historic tax credits, and then we're also applying to the City of Newburgh's micro-unit RFP. And would go also as well to the land IDA. And with that, I think we'd open it up if anyone has general questions or topics they'd like to
cover. Sure, Lisa, if you don't mind. Joe Donat here from the City of Newburgh. Thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious how you would go about determining the assistance that Osborne would provide to actual city residents versus others that may perhaps not be from the city or from the surrounding area for that matter.
Sure, I'll take that. So Osborne has an existing relationship with Newburgh Ministries.
Oh no, I'm very familiar. I just I would like to just learn more about whether or not for sure the assistance will be provided to current city residents. The city's having some issues with certainly not necessarily Osborne, but other organizations, obviously doing some very good work. And I don't wish to speak ill will of the great work that's being done by Osborne and others, but the city is not in a position to want to attract additional services for individuals that would not reside in the city.
Sure. So again, we've applied for funding for 5 units out of the 17. Osborne believes that they can fill the 5 units through the relationship with Newburgh Ministries and the existing shelter. They don't see any need to, there are no guarantees, but they don't see any need to go beyond working with Newburgh Ministries.
Fair enough. I, at the same token, in response to that, would need to see some additional guarantees and some more information from Osborne prior to offering my opinion to the mayor of the city council of the city.
Okay, thank you.
Seems like there, from a financing perspective, a lot of different organizations, tax credits, CPC, IDA. Any concern about the coordination of these multiple efforts on a single project? It seems generally with the land bank, while people are looking at different sources of funding, it's quite common, but generally it's a little more streamlined. So could you talk a little bit about how you see that working? Any challenges you may anticipate or any challenges you may have come up with so far, and if any of it fell through, what kind of impact it would have on the project?
Hi, I'll take that. Yeah, you're right. It is a complicated capital stack for such a small project. However, one of our strengths is that we bring the experience of development advisory for complex, projects such as this that have a lot of different sources. So we've already approached the Industrial Development Agency, and we have their application. We've been sort of waiting to apply for that to get word from the land bank. We also have a preliminary underwriting from CPC. And so, I think the outstandings really are going through the landmarks process, going through the city planning process, really hearing and understanding the city's concerns, should there be additional concerns or requirements related to Osborne and the supportive housing units. We definitely understand the community concerns there, and this is our proposal, but we're willing to do some adjustments. The historic tax credits, we have an expert on our team in the form of Liz, who has gone through that process, and we also have some flexibility in the budget. So we did not underwrite with historic tax credits right now, and so we're hoping to bring all of those to bear to kind of like bring up the excellent standard in our design and construction. However, we do have a little bit of flexibility.
One other follow-up to that, if you could just remind the board what you see as the overall budget for the project and what you see as the monthly or annual revenue for the building.
Yep. We should have put a sources and uses in. Right now, our budget is somewhere between 2.4 and 2.5 million dollars. But we are at, we're at schematic design right now, so that will get refined. We have contingencies that we're carrying in the budget. And I'm sorry, what was the second question?
The second question was when you look at your ROI, what are you projecting is your monthly or annual revenue for the units?
The monthly or
rent
annual
collection.
Yep.
I'll take that. Our initial monthly cash flow, we're looking at net operating income of about $10,000 a month once stabilized.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question. What's your bottom number for what percentage AMI do you think that some of these units would go down to?
Yeah, we're so the 2 1-bedrooms we're underwriting currently at 80% AMI, and then the studios we're looking, those could be as low as 65% AMI.
Okay.
Question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So you said 80% AMI, but you're going to have some Ishai units there. Those are probably at 30% or low income, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
How many Ishai? I'm sorry.
It would be 5 units.
Yeah, it's up to 5. If we don't get the eSHI funding, then we wouldn't do the kind of pipeline from Osborne. So that's sort of a pending component.
Okay.
And I didn't write down your financials while I was listening, besides eSHI. The micro unit grant. Are you able to go ahead without those? What about if you don't get a micro unit grant, and what if you don't get a pilot?
Yeah, we did not underwrite with the micro unit grant. We did underwrite with the pilot. So, I mean, those two components, plus the fact that we're carrying contingencies, we're in schematic design right now. You know, we will get this done. But yes, there are some approvals that we would like to see happen. Primarily the IDA, but we did not underwrite with the micro unit grant.
And that includes historic tax credits as well?
We also did not underwrite the project with the historic tax credits, although we see some real value there. And I think that, you know, we're going to be able to, I think, do some creative things with the design should we get some of these other funding sources. And I don't know if Liz or Kai or Anna, you want to say anything about, you know, some of the elements that we're really excited about in terms of the design.
Sure, I can go ahead and talk about that. So just from a design perspective, I mean, this is an incredible opportunity of a development site, both having the existing historic structure and the adjacent vacant lot. So I think that when thinking about the new infill building, we're really thinking about the dialogue that it will have with the existing building. So you see a lot of the features from 143 and 145 Washington that are incorporated with a little contemporary design into our new proposal. And that's having the stoop, the double hung windows. We have a contemporary cornice that matches the existing cornice and wraps around the Washington and Federal Street facade. And then the treatment of the new construction, also like 143 and 145, really follows the contours of Washington Street. So I think the 3 buildings as a row are very much in harmony. And the new building also is sensitive to the height and the volume of the existing buildings.
Can you just go back to those renderings of both 143 and 145?
Yeah, I think also in terms of the design, we will try, like Kay said, we're in the preliminary stages of design, but our desire would be to also showcase some kind of sustainability and use, you know, low energy embodied materials like wood, and try to make this also not a fully sustainable building, but have, you know, fairly strong elements of sustainability.
That's a really good point, Anna. I totally forgot to mention that. Actually, that was something that we were really excited about, and we're still talking to Baxter about some of those features.
So will this be a lead project or?
So
No.
One of the requirements that comes with the state funding, the Small Building Participation Loan Program, is to reach certain sustainability standards. So it will be LEED rated, I believe is the term, but not LEED certified necessarily. And then one other thing that may be worth pointing out is that we are trying to be economical about space, and have one circulation for both buildings. So the entrance and stoop in the new structure would also serve several of the units in the 143, the older structure.
I think you can see that in the plans, Cam, if you wanna.
Yeah. Here.
Yep.
So I think what we're trying to do is to have the expression of both buildings on the outside, but they will function as one building in the inside. And then the smaller units, of course, they also bring energy saving to the project.
Do we have any other questions or comments at this time?
I just had one more, and I apologize, it was probably in your materials, but I don't have all the materials in front of me. To the extent this is approved, do you have an approximate completion timeline on the project?
Yeah, we'd be looking to have the building open, construction complete and the building open by June 2022.
That may be a little aggressive. I think that was in our original proposal. You know, we may add a few months to the getting underway, but you know, we want to hit the ground running. And we just really appreciate all of your time in listening to our, you know, proposal. We may kind of not look like the typical developer. We're, you know, proud to be women-owned and women-driven in terms of a development project. We're also really embracing the land bank's goals of getting these properties on the tax rolls. We know the IDA will slow start that a little bit, but you know, depending on the schedule, within 10 or 15 years, this will be income producing for the city, and on the commercial space, definitely provide some new activity for Liberty Street, including, you know, lunches and whatnot. And hopefully we'll be positioning 1 or 2 BJH employees up there. So we're very grateful. Thank you for the opportunity, and look forward to talking again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.
We hop back off now to the live stream.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for the time.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, that looks like it. We will save further discussion till the end of the meeting. We'll go into executive session if you feel the need. Let's get on to 62 Carpenter.
Campbell.
No, excuse me, 62 Campbell Street.
So we did extend, in the last meeting, we extended the deadline for this application to October 31st. We haven't received further applications, however.
We've received no more.
Correct.
Have we received any?
No, well, we received in the first round, but there wasn't, you know, we had decided, the board had decided to extend it to see if we could get some additional applications.
Right, right.
Better.
Have we, well, we've got a couple of weeks, so yeah, almost 2 weeks. We'll hold off then and then make a decision. If we have to go with what we already got, then we got to go with it. All righty. Okay, 104 Washington Street.
So that's in contract, and the developer seems to be moving through different approvals, or seeking approvals from the different land use committees. I sat in on the ARC meeting. They were asked to come back with more detail. I think, Lisa, you might be able to report on the planning.
Yeah, let me go to the other room, get my notes.
Okay. And I should say, I don't know if I should wait for Lisa.
Okay, got him. Let's see. Well, we had quite a discussion, over an hour on this application. It was a public hearing, and those who spoke were mostly business people in the area, and they were against the project. Their concerns were the mass of the project, the fact they were upset that the zoning board of appeals granted the approvals that they requested, which was no parking and what was the other one? Oh, a rear yard setback. They don't have much of a backyard now. So we closed the public hearing, and we had quite a discussion about it on the board too. But all in all, it's going to go forward. They have to come back. We didn't grant any approvals. We just, where is it?
So Lisa, you're saying that they got their approvals from zoning?
Yes, that was before, that was last Thursday, I think.
Okay.
And zoning also had a public hearing. I wasn't, I didn't attend or anything.
Calls and letters about this project.
I'm sorry?
I've gotten a lot of calls and letters with regard to this project.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, the concerns, some of those are by right because of our zoning. And I tried to explain to the public that you may disagree, but we as a planning board cannot deny an applicant that is meeting the zoning needs. And there was, some pushback about it.
I'm happy to reinforce you in that position, Lisa. I fully agree with your sentiments there.
Yeah, I'm stuck. As a matter of fact, the board afterwards had a long discussion on what is appropriate for the board to do. And, if we need to make policy changes, that's a whole nother, thing to talk about. But right now they're meeting codes and such. And there's certain things that we could ask as a planning board that they do, but it's an ask as opposed to a demand. So right now we're
in addition, Lisa, I think I've spoken to most of the people who spoke last night. They called me individually today. And most of them are pretty understanding that they may not like the process, but they fully understand it's the legal process in place now and seem willing to work with us on changing the planning board process through a zoning code in the change in the future. So I think that's the, I did also recommend to everyone attend more planning board meetings, and you may understand the process more clearly as well. So
thanks. So anyway, they're moving through the planning board process. It should be another couple of months before or if they get their approvals.
One update the board should know from a city's perspective is that the current structure, when they got the survey, is actually 2 feet on to the city property, meaning that the sidewalk property, the city's right-of-way property. So that's maybe a little issue with disposition. the building as it is now is sitting 2 feet off of the lot, so 2 feet south onto the city's right of way. As you can imagine, the developer came to us and said, will you give us those 2 feet? The city has no interest and no mechanism to give any rights or land that's connected to a right of way. This is not a city parcel, it is a city right of way that the building is sitting on. So how that comes about, I think the attorney, whenever demo happens, the city would at that point have to grant some sort of license agreement for them to remove the building that's 2 feet on city property. And then they would rebuild the new building 2 feet further north, fully on their property. And Darren,
So-
I'm more than happy to explain that more if you need more detail from your end, for the or whichever law firm does the property sale.
Any other talk
I think
on
that's-
104?
I think that's right. I agree with you.
I'm sorry, Darren.
No problem. I agree. I agree with the comments on that. That's the way it should go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was not at the planning board meeting. You said there was a lot of opposition. Is it opposition that, and this is a tricky thing to say, and it's all about perspective, but was it objective opposition? Was it opposition we should have considered? Is it just, it's a big project and people, not everyone's going to like it? What was sort of the sentiment around the opposition? Or was it this scenario that the zoning got changed and people didn't like the process?
More of that. It was more on the process as opposed to, it's a very large building. If you look at it in perspective to the other surrounding buildings, you can see that it's a lot. People were saying, one man said, if I were putting a solar array on my property, if I owned this property, then it wouldn't be functional because the shadow that this building will cast. No rear yard setback, and we need more airspace. Just kind of stuff that is really beyond our purview as a planning board and
Right.
really
Okay.
doesn't affect the land bank.
Okay, thank you.
I also got some questions. Actually, it was some good feedback about the parking. Now, I always, think that this is an urban city and, we shouldn't build more parking garages. So I think that part of the opposition was, well, okay, so they're building this huge building, what about the parking? And again, I always tend to think that people do get stuck on the parking, and they came up with some very good ideas, which, I will share with Ellie later on.
Good. And I understand that the majority of people who spoke were business owners.
Yes.
So they need parking for the people that come to their businesses. And if 28 or 40 of those spaces are taken up by tenants on a regular basis, that cuts into that Ann Street parking. And there's never any parking around Liberty, Washington, and that's always crowded.
I might also add, as if I was a business owner and you were adding 40 potential consumers right near my business, I'd probably be pretty happy about that.
Yes, but remember that we're keeping this a rather modest income property.
I understand. No, I understand.
All righty, moving right along. I'm working off of two darn sheets of paper. Give me a minute. Oh, God. Okay. Habitat, the Miller Street properties. Oh, and Johnston too.
Yeah, I don't have anything new to report. We just need to set up the transfer to Habitat.
Anybody, Ally or anybody heard anything from Habitat recently? I haven't talked to Matt.
Just in general?
Yeah.
They had their breakfast yesterday, their virtual breakfast. I think he was doing lots of preparation for that. But yeah, the city has had some conversations about some properties that we own. And they're still working, they're still actually moving forward with their timelines as they were set out. What they're not doing is having the big open volunteer work days. So they're working more with, they do some work with hired contractors. And so they are continuing to work with that. They're continuing to have their families do the sweat equity work. and all of that. So they are moving their projects forward just with limited volunteer hours.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All righty.
And the breakfast, for anyone who's interested, the breakfast was recorded and you can all watch it on their website. So if you want to attend the virtual breakfast.
Thank you. Moving right along to building preservation, abatement and stabilization.
So we have 128 Du Bois. They just started, I believe, this week. The repairs that are going to be quite significant, structural work and asbestos and lead abatement. That was just delayed for reasons that we've discussed at length, I think, in these meetings. 38 Lander, we just submitted the permit for the contractor who's going to be doing the lead abatement. And I think she started setup work, if I'm not mistaken.
All righty. South Miller, 44 South Miller.
So we're in the process of drafting the bid that will be released hopefully by next week. A bid to seeking contractors to do the demolition work.
Okay. And 10 Chambers, 151 Liberty Street. Oh boy.
So that so the land bank currently owns 10 Chambers, and it's adjacent to 151 Liberty, which is a city-owned property, former gas station. There's DEC cleanup work going on for underground oil tanks there. They discovered in the process of the cleanup that our property is also affected, and so they've continued the cleanup. It's gone, they said they're going 25 feet down till they hit bedrock, and they're going to be replacing all of that soil, so it's quite a large job. I think once that cleanup is done, Ally, let me know the process of have to be an environmental easement placed, and that legal process can take some months under normal times. So that the plans for those properties are going to be pushed back, but I think both the city and the land bank is interested in working together and combining those properties into a single RFP for development once those are available.
Are we on the hook for the cost of that cleanup?
No, that's being paid for by DEC.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Sort of. I mean, I will say that what DEC will do, yeah. So DEC is cleaning it, and then they will go after any responsible parties. I mean, I think the land bank, I have two seats here, the city and the land bank. I think the land bank probably is absolutely, it's responsible parties who have the means to pay. So in the order, maybe the attorney has better details on how that goes, but yes, so there may be some legal work required, but obviously the impact to your site is probably minimal to the land bank. It clearly came from the city's site.
Right.
So Ally, does that mean the city's going to have to pay for that?
I think the I don't think, maybe Joe knows better. I mean, I don't think there's a legal process where we say we were not responsible other than we took it by default, and beyond that we do not have the means. And so then they start with the one who caused it, and then they kind of go down the list, is my understanding.
It's a little complicated, Ramona. I'll talk to you more about it offline, but it's somewhat unclear at this point, but I think we'll be all right.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All righty. Now for some good news, artisan vacancy.
Well, there are a couple of extensions before that some purchasers have requested.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, we got the letters.
So one is 82 Liberty, Washington Heights. The purchaser there wrote a letter and sent some photos about the work that they've had. You know, they've had delays, although they're continuing to work. I think the owner himself had COVID. And he's an architect and is doing most, you know, is overseeing at least and doing a lot of the work himself. And they've had delays in inspections and whatnot. So he's asking for an additional 6-month extension.
Well, I think I read the letter, I saw the photographs. I think this is the kind of, that's why we grant extensions. People are really making a good faith effort and just can't get there fast enough.
And I've seen that they've been working off and on the building, but have we given an extension before?
Yes.
Yes, we have.
I think this will be maybe the 3rd extension.
And is there a cutoff for extensions?
Not like we have written down anywhere.
It's not statutory within the bylaws of the land bank or even within the operating plan of the land bank. I think, Ramona, historically, we've taken it case by case, and which in some ways I think is beneficial, some ways maybe can be a little subjective, but historically we've taken it on a case by case basis, really looking at circumstances and generally putting conditions in any extension, not just granting an open-ended extension. We usually put certain goalposts, monthly or bi-monthly goalposts, in an extension. And that gives us the sense that people are continuing to make the good faith effort, as opposed to we come back 6 months later, there's no progress and they don't have any answers.
Sure. So I mean, I think, if you give 3 extensions, maybe on the 3rd, there definitely has to be conditions, right? I mean, this could be, they could keep coming back for extensions. So.
Where's the project, Jen, in terms of like what would the right goalpost be, whether it's permitting goalpost or TCO or CO, or kind of what's the status that are realistic goalposts that we can ask for, but that we can enforce with the hope of them really completing the project?
I guess, I mean, C of O is the only thing that's kind of objective here. I mean, they can claim that they're complete. This is supposed to be an owner occupied single family. I think that they're interested in being done more than we are.
Right. No, fair enough. I'm just wondering if there was, different, plumbing approval, electrical approval, other things that we've done historically.
Things that was holding them up was getting those approvals scheduled. But that could be
I'm trying to look up right now the permits. I know that his permit, he applied, so your permit will expire, your building permit will expire in 1 year, and then you must get renewals. I do know that he was recently approved for a continuation, so he does still have a current building permit, and has, again, because the building department believes he's working. But if you give me 1 second, I can tell you what kind of inspections he's received to date, and therefore potentially what the next would be. But just give me one more.
Thank you.
And also, Jen, do you know, like, is he 80%, complete, or?
Well, in his letter, he said sheetrocking and taping are at 95% complete. And
yes, plumbing,
electrical work is at 85, and this was a month ago.
Okay, all right.
He's gotten a lot done. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously not in the timeline we all wanted him to originally, but he has certainly gotten some things done most recently.
So for both electrical and plumbing and frame, those, he's done his rough plumbing, meaning the plumbing with the wall, just without it all connected, but there's waiting for final inspections on those. Hold on, I have to go each one by one for these. I apologize. He's passed his framing inspections. He's passed his insulation inspections. So the inspections that are outstanding are the sheetrock, interior finishes, final plumbing, final electric, and then the final C of C, which results in a certificate of occupancy.
All right, so he's almost there. I mean, I know he doesn't have any
Yeah.
front steps, right? You can't get into the building unless you climb up the ladder. Is that right? Last time I drove by.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I walked by it this morning, Ramona, so now you're really putting me on the spot why I didn't look at it that closely.
Yeah. He's done a
they were
great
framing
job.
it out. Yeah, he has. And I will say, I think Chief Horton, when he was on this, was these calls for that short period. This was, you've all heard him call this the poster child for the slow building movement. It's mostly done himself. It's very careful and incredibly meticulous work, but slow.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could say 6 months to get the final inspections.
I would put some intermediate 2 or 3 month goalposts with some of these things that are outstanding. If he's almost done, he should be able to achieve them. I think the point of any of these extensions is we don't want to get to the last day and then find out he's 5 months behind 6 months later. So I would advocate that. And again, they're not to be punitive in this case because he does appear, from what everyone's saying, to be working hard to get to completion. But I would think he would need to represent us 60 to 90 days from now, whatever the group is comfortable with, that a certain number of these things are ticked off. And it creates, quite honestly, it creates the pace for him as well as it does for accountability for us.
Right.
I think that's definitely reasonable. And with the staff we have now, we can certainly speak to him, visit with him, and, set up a little time frame. I've just, I have some coming through the planning board that we get a note saying, give me another year, even though I'm past the year, because I spend a lot of money in Newburgh. Goodbye. I mean, this guy has got a lot of, I'm trying to show you all that I'm working on and the reasons why. And I think that, a 6 month extension is wholly appropriate.
Okay.
So we do need to take a vote on that.
Do we want to identify the conditions that we'd like completed in the next 90 days? Maybe Ally or someone better versed than I could identify the 2, 3, or 4 things that probably should get done in 90 days, and we can just put those as conditions in the extension. Or Joe or whoever.
We'll certainly get that to you. I think we'll choose from the list of the items that we just discussed. Let me just circle back with Bill Horton and
I'm just reading a list. I don't know the details of.
No, that's fine. So I'll make the motion conditional upon the details getting filled in when we have a better handle on them. Did you hear that, Lisa?
I'm trying to talk here.
No, I said I'll make the motion conditionally based on the details that Ally and Joe will fill in as to what realistic goalposts are to have completed 90 days from now.
I'll second that.
All in favor, signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, his is granted.
So it's still where we would grant a 6 month extension, but there's a 3 month milestone marker.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the other one is 125 William. I forwarded the letter from the purchaser. We sold them 123 and 125 William. And they completed 123 and I think have already rented it up. the residential units. I'm not sure about the storefront. And they are requesting more time to do 125, William. But they're asking for a year. So, you know, and they outline some of the setbacks that they've had due to coronavirus, so several have stopped work with several inspections with the city, along with facing setbacks with contractors, electrical and plumbing, water and gas meters due to the virus. So they're saying they've never had to request an extension from the city of Newburgh in the past, and they wanted a year just to be safe.
I would be comfortable with 6 months, not a year.
I agree. I think a year is too far out.
Yeah, that's my feeling too. That's quite an extension.
And I think what we can do in granting the extension is explain to them that, and I know we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but that if they're realistically, if they're demonstrating significant effort and significant progress, and they're 80% of the way there 6 months from now, we're not pulling the plug 6 months from now. We might put some more goalposts on it, but you know, I think it's important how it's explained so that people don't look at it and then say, well, we're not going to get it done, and then it turns bad.
Yep.
I agree. So will someone make a motion to grant a 6 months extension?
Lisa, it's Joe. I can make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Andre, you're seconding?
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposing that? Okay. So another 6 month extension. Now, can we talk about artists in vacancy?
Well, there is one more. I don't know if we need to discuss it. The 27 City Terrace. They also, and Sarah can chime in. They are like 4 years behind. They didn't start work, I think, until last year when we pushed them. They have done most of the work, but they don't have a C of O, and they are trying in contract of sale right now.
Oh.
So they advertised it through MLS and are in contract. So when we brought that to their attention that they were supposed to get the C of O, they said that the sale was contingent on that, and they were continuing to do the work.
Well, it's contingent on it, but what if they don't get it? So I'm not saying, I'm sure they want to get it, but have they met the criteria to get it? Or you know, is the city dragging its feet? I don't know. Ally, can you ask Bill about that your property?
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up. The system crashed, so I'm restarting it. But yes, we can certainly ask.
How about if we grant a very short extension, contingent on either the conditions of the property right now or a report from building inspector, something like that?
Sure. I mean, maybe it's 60 days. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anything happens in 30 days, but I probably wouldn't go beyond 60 days.
Yeah, 30 days would be cutting it close. But I think 60 days is reasonable.
Well, and it keeps the pressure on for them.
If they are where they say they are.
Right, right. Well, that's the representation they're making to us, so they own that.
Yeah, 60 days is pretty spot on in my mind, I think. I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure we've had a couple issues also internally, from different departments in the city with the property as well too. So I'm gonna double check on that, but 60 days, look, nothing more, nothing less. And before the end of the year, we'll probably have a very good idea about where everything stands.
Okay, good. I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
And Ally, discussion?
The wheel is turning. I apologize. I will tell you, we're getting a new asset management software that launched. We're having beta testing starting in a week. So hopefully in a week, I don't have to watch IPS crash every time I want to
Okay.
research a property.
Alrighty, so let's just go on the supposition that they're almost to the finish line and we're being gracious enough to give them another 2 months.
Mhm.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of granting a 2-month extension? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. I'm not going to say it again. I'm done. In case the artist in vacancy is it time for that yet?
Diana can give a brief update.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I know it's been a long meeting, but we also, speaking of extensions, we actually offered the artists to continue until next May because a lot of them would like to do outdoor sort of interventions or incorporate a public audience. And we had one really successful, we had a really successful open studios at the end of September. We opened the land bank with limited visitation. All the artists came up and one of the artists held we capped the audience at 12 people, but we had a drawing workshop identifying local plants that had medicinal values. We've integrated she has been talking with both actually Ramona and Karen from the city council, but also the local community gardens. This is just one artist. And all of the artists are in the process of working through their projects. There's one that's looking at installing a camera obscura in the front of one of the buildings. Eric's doing an amazing job having contractors clean out several of our properties for the house to home. So some of those will be available for sort of interim installations. Vernon Byron, who just installed the mural of Frederick Douglass, is one of our artists this year, and he's also working on a project involving a facade of a building. Two of the other artists who are a percussionist and a visual artist are working with Willie Fuller from the Fullerton Mansion, the son of the lawyer who owned the Fullerton Mansion, was a composer, and they rewrote his piece and are creating an installation that will actually play the melody to be installed outdoors. And then the last artist, Anais Maviel, actually just performed at the Free Library installation of the Harriet Tubman statue, but she's designing a very specific custom outdoor performance involving sort of singing and performance in the city of Newburgh for the spring. So really excited, everyone's on board and they're doing the best they can with sort of all these limitations that our new reality has posed. Thanks.
I'm sorry, I have to say there's so much exciting stuff going on in the city of Newburgh in terms of art. It's great. Thanks, Diane.
Really great.
All righty. We need to close out of our public meeting. And I need a motion to go into executive session.
Jen, if you want to stop the live stream, we can stop the recording on my end.
So moved, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks, David. All in favor of going into executive session? Aye.
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 All righty.